production company and organizing events around the world, like the best Web3 parties you can attend, or like this conference. And How to DAO, that's basically what is bringing the education part and trying to really show the possibilities of DAOs. We do the local conferences. This is what we do. This is our first one. Later or early next year, we will also publish a book, which will be a comprehensive guide for DAOs. And we also work with our friends from Bankless Academy to develop some platform with some practical quests, so you can practically learn what to do in Web3 and how to set up a DAO. But nothing will be possible without our great sponsors from Puma, Nethermind, Mangrove, CKX, Vidaro, and Common. And actually now it would be nice maybe to have like a small applause for them, because without them we won't be here. So thank you very much for supporting our vision, and they are not just supporting our vision as the conference, but each of these companies are doing an amazing job in Web3, building the ecosystem, supporting other projects, building new way how we can do stuff. And you will hear from them actually at some panels and speeches, and you can connect with them also here around. And the agenda for today. So we start with fundamentals. It will be towards more like what is actually DAO, how I can contribute to some DAO, how I can leverage my skills and be very successful in Web3. Then we will have a little break, so we can connect with each other and chat what we are doing, or if there is any other questions. And then we have the deep dive. So that will be focused more on like building a DAO, operating a DAO. So if you have any project you want to do and you are considering a DAO, they might help you to understand how to do it. And after that, we have also networking. So here's the agenda for the first half. I won't read everything, but I would just say our first speaker is Justice. I would say me and Justice actually kind of launched this How to DAO movement almost 2 years ago in Bankless DAO when we met. And now Justice is the DAO strategist at Polygon Labs, and I would say the best person to tell you what is a DAO. So welcome, Justice.
Okay, very thankful to be here, excited for this event. And the name of this talk is DAO Mental Models. A little bit about me, Punkar already shared a little bit, but I want to tell you my background because it'll maybe give you some insight on why I'm thinking about things the way I do. I started as a full stack developer in 2009. I sold this small startup, and a part of that, the consequence was to build out the team and integrate it in an enterprise setting. So I found myself from writing code to hiring people to write code, way better than me, and orchestrate those teams. And that team went from 1 team to 2 teams to 3 teams. And then years later, I found myself orchestrating delivery across 8 teams, which I started to see as a different kind of a programming. So I went from writing code to programming computers to programming organizations to DAOs, which are programmable organizations on a whole other level. I was a governance solution engineer for Bankless DAO, and now work at Polygon Labs. So mental models, what is a mental model? Mental model is just a reasoning tool. It's a representation of some domain or situation that supports understanding, reasoning, and prediction. And few properties of a mental model, they're not mutually exclusive. You can have contrary mental models of something and each of them be helpful in different ways. They can be leaky. There may be aspects that are lost in that mental model, and they can be reductive. They can take things that are a bit more complex, but it's still a good rule of thumb. Now, I say this because what we're going to do is rather than me telling you what a DAO is, because I've heard those talks many, many times, I want to give you like a few mental models of how to think about DAOs. And if you don't like any of them, you can come up with your own mental model and we'll add it to the list. Okay? What I hope to achieve by this very short talk is to save you from 2 things. One is, if you love DAOs and you're like, oh my gosh, you're going to DAO the whole thing, then you can look like the person on the left, okay? Like a crazy person. If you're overwhelmed by the options in DAOs, then you can look like the person on the right. Maybe analysis paralysis, and you never end up trying to do anything because there's just too many options. And so it's about just starting. So the first mental model is digital companies, organizations on chain. You can see this mental model from Polygon when they say a DAO is an organization around the smart contracts and a public blockchain. And the idea is, look at it this way. Bitcoin made sovereign money, decentralized money. DAOs make sovereign companies. Until DAOs, the only way you could be a company is if the state recognized you as such. And if they ceased to recognize you as such, you were no longer a company. Sound familiar? So this is one mental model, separation of state and collective ownership. Because right now, the only way we can collectively own something is by a court or a state saying that we both have an interest in it. And so DAOs digitize business. That's the first one. The second one is autonomous apps. And this is from Vitalik, in which he's got this famous diagram, and he says basically the short version is it's a DApp, it's a decentralized application with internal capital. That capital is deployed to benefit itself for self-propagation. And raise your hand if you read the Demon series by Soros. Okay, check this out. This is like a secret. This is buried in some Medium comments. Vitalik was inspired by this series to write his first blog post on what is a DAO. It's deep, it's amazing, and the whole idea is you can write, it's something like not even intelligent, it's like a stack of scripts, but if it deploys capital and resources to get humans to help it, that's the DAO mechanic. And so the DAO pays people to do things it can. So great example is you replace Uber, the center, with code, and that capital gets deployed out and improves the routing and the reputation system. So we have DAOs as on-chain businesses, DAOs as robots, Skynet. And the third mental model is a new internet. And this is from Chris Dixon. He says this, we kind of don't see it, but the entire world has been taken over by platforms. There's a whole theory, aggregation theory, which says why this happens. And the reason why this happens is, think about it. We went from a goods and services economy to a pure information. What does a pure information economy look like? It means that you have businesses that don't need to hold anything, but are just smart and make money. How does that happen? You figure out who the people are who have stuff and who the people are who want it, and you make the connection and then take a cut in order to make a profit. This is the genius of platforms. There's a little diagram here. Everything's a platform if you think about it deeply enough. All of Google runs on Google AdWords, Twitter, it's all advertising platform. And so the idea is people build out on these platforms and then they get robbed. They build entire businesses and then they wake up one day and their account's smoked. Chris Dixon says, listen, we need to go from a don't be evil to a can't be evil, and we can do this with DAOs in which we say all the users now control the platform and cannot be censored or rubbed. So that's the third mental model. He also talks about the cold start problem. How do you start a network from nothing? He's like, you do this by giving away ownership. So neutral platforms, third mental model. Fourth, communities. This is the most popular and dominant mental model, but as you can see, it's not the only one. The idea here is this is new internet social clubs, tokenized communities, community first ethos, and the whole idea here is instead of building something and hoping people come, you can actually find people who want something, have them all put money in a pot, and then deploy that money to build what they want. So you start with customers even before you have a product, raise money to build that product. And PFPs really kind of supercharge this, okay? So, and the famous line which kicked off the last DAO bull run from Koopa Troopa, internet communities with a shared cap table and bank account. That's how we define DAOs. So that's I think the last mental model. And so all of these do share something in common. I'll say this, wherever you find the mental model you're attracted to most, go with it and don't be, my advice would be don't be ashamed of it or scared that this isn't a real DAO. I don't like the flame wars about what a real DAO is. It's a matter of the utility. There's a commonality among all these mental models, and it's a shift from institutions to technology, okay? From opaque institutions where you have to trust the humans and they're exclusive, inaccessible, ossified, they can't change very easily, and IRL first, right? Technology, we move that locus of trust to software, transparency, programmability, access to anyone, open-ended, totally experimental, and internet first. And so that's what we can all really circle around. Which is entirely predicted, just like Bitcoin. Raise your hand if you've seen the book or heard the book, The Sovereign Individual. You have 3 books to read. The Suarez series is 2 books, and this is the 3rd one. This book is literally predicted the future. Like Milton Friedman talked about the digital dollar, it talks about nation-state dominance on how the world works will collapse, just like how everyone defined life by Roman Catholic Church in the Middle Ages, in the Dark Ages. This will happen as well, and it will be replaced by code. And so this is the unfolding of that entire prediction. That's what I have. I think we have time for questions. Follow me on Twitter, Singularity Hack, and I blog at operator.weird.xyz. Thanks, guys.